Then, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the session where we are sharing the gems from Srimadbhagavatam. And today is a very special verse, which actually answers many questions that we have in our lives. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for the invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantastho Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Neshtaki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. In today's session, Gems from Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll be covering this beautiful verse from 4th Canto, 30th chapter, verse 19. Please join us in the recitation of this verse. Graheshva chapi pumsam kushal karmanam madvatayatayamanam na bandhaya grahamataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer or beneficiary of all activities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when one acts, he offers the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and passes life always engaged in the topics of the Lord. Even though such a person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his actions. Purport. Generally, a person living in a family becomes overly attached to fruitive activity. In other words, he tries to enjoy the results of his activities. A devotee, however, knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and the supreme proprietor. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram. This is the peace formula 5.29. Consequently, the devotee does not consider himself the proprietor of any occupation. The devotee always thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the proprietor. Therefore, the results of his business are offered to the Supreme Lord. One who thus lives in the material world with his family and children never becomes affected by the contaminations of the material world. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yagyathat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadatham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. One who tries to enjoy the results of his activities becomes bound by the results. One who offers the results or profits to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, does not become entangled in the results. This is the secret of success. Generally, people take sannyas to become free from the reactions of fruitive activity. One who does not receive the results of his actions, but offers them instead to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly remains in a liberated condition. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami confirms this. Iha yasya hare dase karmana manasa gira nikila swapya avasthasu jivan mukta sauchyate. If one engages himself in the service of the Lord through his life, wealth, words, intelligence, and everything he possesses, he will always be liberated in any condition. Such a person is called Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated during this lifetime. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, those who engage in material activities simply become more entangled in material bondage. They have to suffer and enjoy the actions and reactions of all activity. This Krishna consciousness movement is therefore the greatest boon to humanity because it keeps one always engaged in Krishna's service. The devotees think of Krishna, act for Krishna, eat for Krishna, sleep for Krishna, and work for Krishna. Thus, everything is engaged in the service of Krishna. A total life in Krishna consciousness saves one from material contamination, as stated by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Krishna bhajane yaha hai anukula, vishaya baliya tyage taha hai bhula. If one is so expert that he can engage everything or dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, to give up the material world would be a great blunder. One should learn how to dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, for everything is connected to Krishna. That is the real purpose of life and secret of success. As reiterated later in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita 3.19, Tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakta he acharan karma param apnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. The third chapter of Bhagavad Gita specifically considers material activities for the purpose of sense gratification and material activities for the purpose of satisfying the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that there is not one and they are not one and the same. Material activities for sense gratification are the cause of material bondage, whereas the same activities for the satisfaction of Krishna are the cause of liberation. How the same activity can be the cause of bondage and liberation can be explained as follows. One may get indigestion due to eating too many milk preparations, condensed milk, sweet rice, and so on. But even though there is indigestion or diarrhea, another milk preparation, yogurt mixed with black pepper and salt, will immediately cure these maladies. In other words, one milk preparation can cause indigestion and diarrhea, and another milk preparation can cure them. If one is placed in material opulence due to the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he should not consider that opulence a cause of bondage. When a mature devotee is blessed with material opulence, he does not become affected adversely, for he knows how to employ material opulence in the service of the Lord. There are many such examples in the history of the world. There were kings like Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak, Dhruva, Vaivasvata Manu, and Maharaj Ikshvaku. All of these were great kings and were especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If a devotee is not mature, the Supreme Lord will take away all his opulence. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead states, Yasya ham anugrahanami harishye tad dhanan shantahe. Shanah. My first mercy shown to my devotee is to take away all his material opulence. Material opulence, detrimental to devotional service, is taken away by the Supreme Lord, whereas a person who is mature in devotional service is given all material facilities. Hare Krishna, please join us in reciting Srila Prabhupada Pranati so we can get blessings from Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. So those who have just joined us, we are covering from Gems from Srimadbhagavatam 4th Canto, 30th chapter, verse 19, which is glorified that one who is engaged in family life but is dovetailing everything in Krishna's service is actually liberated, not bound by the reactions, the material reactions in a family life. Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तदहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम् हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, this verse is teaching us the secret of being alive in family life. And it is a very important aspect. How do we engage in devotional service while still being in this material world? So we have to be like the lotus leaf. While in the water, it is untouched. So if there is water that comes on it, immediately rolls off. So we have to be detached from that perspective, but then easily said than done. Right? Devotional service is very easy for an easy, simple-minded person. It is very difficult for a complex, materially minded person. So being a devotee in the world is not about escaping the house, grihasthashram. It is all making it a temple where every mop, every meal, and every meeting becomes a meditation. So in Srimadbhagavatam, this particular verse is very sweetly revealing that those who are engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service certainly understand that the ultimate enjoyer, beneficiary of all activities is who? Is it I? No, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, when we act for the pleasure of the Lordship, everything, all our activities are carried out. Now, sometimes people say, oh, that is so difficult. Where did Krishna say that? Actually, in the 9th chapter, there was a direct instruction just before Lord Krishna gave like what kind of things can be offered to him. He's told Arjuna, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad juhoshi tadasi yat tapasyasi kante tat kurishna madapram. Yat karoshi, whatever activities you do, right? Yadashnasi, whatever you accept, right? Yad juhoshi tadasi yat tapasyasi, whatever charity, sacrifices, and austerities you perform, they all mat kurishva madarpam. Tat kurishva madarpam. So he is saying, all these should be performed for my satisfaction. And a beautiful verse that Srila Prabhupada hinted in the purport is, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram surhidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So a devotee understands that the Lord is the supreme proprietor of Bhoktaram yagatapasam. So he is the beneficiary of a yagya, which is sacrifices, tapa, which is austerities and penances, Sam is and all other activities. So anything that we can perform with our senses and we interact in this material world with mind, body, and words, all these things should be engaged with keeping Krishna in the center. Yet Maya is very strong. And so in Grihasthashram, people have this tendency to just, and that's immaturity sometimes, they just think that Grihasthashram is the fallen ashram. But in reality, I'll prove it to you today that actually of all the 4 ashrams, Grihasthashram is the topmost ashram. You may think that this is a very tough job to prove, but it is actually the easiest one. Lord Krishna brought the first living entity in this world as Lord Brahma. And what was the single activity, the single responsibility of Lord Brahma? To increase progeny in this material world. So he was bringing, other living entities in his world, because the lotus he was sitting on, those petals were filled with all these souls which are coming up, from the navel of Lord Vishnu, from Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And all these souls, based on their desires, he was making sure that progeny is, growing, the population is growing of this material world. And then further, those he was creating, like Manu and Kashyapa and so many other personalities, he was giving them further responsibilities, Bhrigu Muni, that you should increase the progeny, help me in my activities. And when the 4 Kumaras, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, when they refused, he became angry. And because of the anger, Lord Shiva, as a bluish, reddish boy, the purplish boy, appeared from between his eyebrows. And because he was born of anger, he is also known as Rudra. Lord Shiva is known as Rudra. And Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambho. Of all the Vaishnavas, the greater Vaishnava is Shiva. Wait a minute. Lord Brahma is a married person, so he is in Grihasthashram. Lord Shiva is in Grihasthashram. Swayambhu Narado Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janko Bhishma Bali Vaya Sakir Vaya. So of all the 12 Mahajanas, majority of them are actually in Grihasthashram. Swayambhu, Lord Brahma himself is in Grihasthashram. Shambhu, Lord Shiva, he is in Grihasthashram. Again, Brahma has Saraswati, Lord Shiva has Parvati as his consort. And then we have Janak Maharaj. We have Swayambhuva Manu, and of course Chakshusha Manu, and so many other Manus as they are there. And we talk about, Yamaraj himself. I mean, he's in Grahasthashram. So again, we are seeing so many personalities among the Mahajanas who are in Grahasthashram. Yes, the Chaturkumara is also in there. There is, Devashi Narad is also there. Prahlad Maharaj, he is a Daityaraj. He is the king of the Daityas, the descendants of Diti. And he is also in Grahasthashram. He had the son Virochana, from whom we see Bali Maharaj, who was a Grahastha too. So many personalities, more than half the personalities in top 12 Mahajanas are in Grahasthashram. Now just think about it. If there was no Grahasthashram, we would not be born. We living entities would not get human form of body. That's first simple reason as why Grahasthashram is. So our very existence came into being because our parents were in Grahasthashram. And if we are in Grahasthashram, think of it this way. Brahmacharis, they don't earn money. It is in Grahasthashram that the, Grahasth person again and the Grahini, they together work to make money and bring facilities for all other ashrams. So actually all other ashrams are dependent on Grahasthashram. Vanaprastha is living in one. He's not engaged in any activities so as to sustain the body. So they come, they say Bhikshan, they collect some, beg for some food stuff and so forth, and then they continue to live at the minimum facilities. And then sannyas ashram, completely, relying and dependent on grihasthashram. So of all the 4 ashrams, which one is the most, sustaining ashram of all the other ashrams? Grihasthashram. Now, however, the same grihasthashram, one who is in grihasthashram, but not focusing on Krishna, but focusing on oneself, becomes a grahamedhi and becomes entangled in the material reactions of all their actions, good and bad both. While one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness is in a liberated state. So that is the boon. So here, this verse affirms that household life is not the cause of bondage. When Krishna is at the center, it becomes a platform for liberation, becomes our launching pad. So the house isn't the problem, it is how we live inside it that matters. That is a very important aspect. So today we'll be exploring how to remain alive, right? Alive is the acronym I'm using so that we can stay alive, spiritually awakened, liberated and engaged, even within family life, using this acronym ALIVE. And I will reveal what this ALIVE stands for, because many times time runs faster than us. A is basically we have to align our activities, right? Keep Krishna in the center, and all our activities should be dovetailed for his pleasure. So we have to turn everyday karma into Krishna karma. We have to not engage in karma or karma, we have to engage in a karma, right? Which is devotional service. So everything should be off. So even when we are eating food, what do we say? We say, prasad par hai, right? So even that is a prasadam seva. So we receive it. It's a gift that we are receiving. And actually, prasad does mean mercy. So we are getting mercy of the Lordship so that we can sustain the body. And it is our responsibility to keep our body healthy so that we can continue to perform our duties very nicely for the satisfaction of the Lord. L in alive is to live Krishna Katha. So again, we have to let our home echo with Lord's pastimes. Morning, afternoon, evening, and even at night, we should make sure that the whole vibrations inside the house are that of Krishna Katha, the glories of Lord Shri Krishna and his pastimes, name, form, activities, pastimes, not the Bollywood and Hollywood and all those things. Yes, current times, even Bollywood is becoming very famous because the Simhadev's movie is out. The Lord, who who protects his dear devotee, Bhakta Prahlad. So we have to again understand that, yes, in that particular perspective, they get some benefit, but we have to make sure that we are responsible in making sure our home is constantly living Krishna Katha. We are constantly hearing. And Sravanam is the most powerful of all the 9 processes of devotional service. Then I in alive is to integrate our intentions. Same acts can be performed by 2 different men or women again, but how the context may be different. One may be accepting prasad to enjoy and feel satisfied and feel very nice that, okay, this is my food, I deserve it. The other person also eating, but he's saying, this is prasad, this is Lord's mercy, and I'm grateful that I get to eat. And when there is water, the presence of water is what causes our tongue to taste different material. And what does Lord Krishna says? I'm the taste in water. So it is because of Krishna we can taste things. It is because of Krishna we can digest the food. He is also a Jatar Agni. That is also Krishna. Our heart is made up of involuntary muscles. So again, that's also Krishna. So again, completely controlled by Krishna. So we have to understand Krishna's presence in every day, every moment of our life. So we have to integrate our intentions and dovetail everything for his pleasure with Krishna at the center. And we have to value devotees. Sometimes this tendency, our Grihastha ashram is so great that all other ashrams are dependent on it. That means we must be very valuable. No, in reality, that should make us humble that we have been offered this facility so that we can carry out our responsibility to sustaining other 3 ashrams as well as our ashram. So Grihastha ashram is glorified that it doesn't just sustain itself, but it also sustains all other 3 ashrams. And this should enable us to value devotees in all other ashrams to build deep bonds with Vaishnavas, deep bondages with devotees, loving exchanges. And when we are talking about exchanges, E is nothing but engage everything, right? We see all objects and skills as tools for bhakti, for devotional service. The facilities that we have, the abilities we have, they are all coming from Krishna. Nothing is ours. The clothes we wear is not ours. Hare Krishna. Let me put this on mute so that we don't get disturbed in the middle of our call. Yes. Do not disturb. Hare Krishna. Sometimes we have to very much focus on Krsna Katha, and yes, Maya is very strong. She comes unannounced. So let's look at this secret of being alive in family life, right? So being a devotee in this world is not about escaping the house, like I said before. And we have to see from this perspective, what's the theme? What's the theme that we are heading towards? That the household life is not the cause of bondage. How we live in it that determines, are we bound or are we getting liberated? If we are keeping ourselves in the center and doing everything for our focus, then we of course get bound in this material life and it becomes andhukupam, a dark well. While at the same time, if we are fully Krishna conscious and engaging everything in Krishna's service, then we become liberated and we are not entangled in this household life. So how do we align actions, right? Don't escape our duties. This is the most important aspect. We have to spiritualize. Srila Prabhupada was shown a photograph of a yogi where a big platter filled with money and fortune was offered to the yogi and he was holding his hand in the back. I'm a yogi, I got nothing to do with it. Srila Prabhupada said, bring that to me and I'll go like this because I know what's the purpose. Everything is for Krishna's pleasure. I will engage everything in Krishna's service. So we don't have to reject everything. We just have to engage everything for Krishna. So that is the purpose. We have to act for Krishna, not acting for selfish gains. We should not be looking with us in the center. We should be looking with Krishna in the center, and this will provide us true freedom, because then our attitude will be completely on Krishna's mercy, And we won't be affected by adverse news, which sometimes people think is adverse, or maybe become too proud or happy when good news come our way. We will stay neutral, and it allows us to be able to engage with greater devotion, greater attachment, greater attitude, right? Uh, and when we are grateful, grateful is once, again, it's a definition of one who is great. So work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, Lord Krishna says. Otherwise, work binds. So my Guru Maharaj, he would say a Grihastha success is not what they renounce, but in how they spiritualize what they retain. This is a very important aspect. Sometimes we devotees, we joke that when you take money out of your wallet and put it in hundi, you're like showing, oh, see, I'm putting a $20 bill in the hundi. Lord Krishna doesn't say what you are putting in the hundi. He is saying, what are you keeping back? But then the keeping back is for your pleasure. If Lord knows that everything, even the, whatever funds you have is for his pleasure, he is very pleasingly smiling because he is giving us great benediction, great mercy, just by allowing us to serve him. So service is a privilege, it's not a right. And when we turn our house into a temple, then every member of the house becomes a pujari. So that's the other beautiful benefit. And this devotional service becomes spontaneous. Where there is Srimadbhagavatam, that place becomes a holy place. Where there is constant recitation of the words of Lord Krishna and his conversation with Arjuna, that place becomes a temple. So duty becomes devotion when done as an offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Radha Krishna. And His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, he would, stress on this, that revelation starts not by rejecting life, but by aligning it with divine purpose. So it's all about alignment. And that's what this acronym A stands for. We have to align our actions, our activities, everything. It's so common is, again, in Mumbai, there is hospital started by devotees, and many doctors, they come from very prestigious hospitals and they provide volunteering free services. So similarly, there was a successful surgeon, he was before every operation, what does he do? He bows his head and silently chants, "This is your body, Krishna. I am just a temporary instrument." His surgeries were often smoother and expected, right? Okay, his success was great. And many patients, they live not just with better health, but with prasadam and a Bhagavad Gita. So that's the important aspect, that he would, just by his very nature, he would transform people. So he was curing their physical diseases, but unknown to them, he was curing their spiritual diseases and the diseases that the soul is carrying of material desires. So he was curing them. So alignment doesn't always require change of profession, just transformation of purpose. Now, this is a very important aspect. It's very important. And we can meditate on some of these aspects. We can just close our eyes and visualize. What are the 3 daily tasks like cooking, emailing, driving? We should ask ourselves, how can I make each one more conscious, more Krishna-centered spiritually today, right? Not tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. We have to act on it today. And there are some reflections we can look in life. Which 3 actions in my daily routines are most repetitive? Because if we repeat something, then how can I mentally offer them to Krishna before beginning those activities? And we are, already trying to spiritualize, and the more we practice, the better it becomes. There is a saying, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes it permanent, not perfect. When you practice in devotional service, when you dovetail in devotional service, then, makes a man perfect. Otherwise, the practice of wrong thing only makes it permanent, and then you continue to have more entanglement. That's one of the proof that we have this material body, that life after life we have been practicing the wrong thing, and so we have received this material body. It's a proof. So we have to be very conscious of how we are going to act now. Do we want to continue to have a material body and see impermanent, constant changing nature of this material world? And dukkhalaya means constant misery, one after another. Means Srila Prabhupada would give this example. He actually gave this example to Narayani Mataji. She's an exalted devotee. He said that think of yourself, thrown in the middle of an ocean, and the waves are hitting you. What would you do? Would you tell the waves to stop? No, you will cry for Krishna and you will make your effort to swim through. But completely relying on Krishna means also using your abilities in the right purpose. So Lord Krishna, he says, Parasham Nisha, I'm the ability in man. So he has provided us some abilities. We should engage it in his service and at the same time continue to pray with heartfelt prayers. Saint Augustine, he says something very important in this regard. He very much aligns with the Vaishnava theory. He says that work as if everything depends on you and pray as if everything depends on God. And this is something we can take to our heart, right? So, when we are aligning everything, then comes L in alive. Live Krishna Katha. So the home that vibrates with Krishna Katha is no longer a material residence. It becomes Vaikuntha. Everyone thinks of going to Vaikuntha. Everyone thinks of going to Vrindavan. Just make your home Vrindavan. Make your home Vaikuntha. And you will not have to go anywhere. Wandering outside is something we living entities have been doing from life after life. Brahmad bhavite kaun bhagyavana jiva Guru Krishna pasade paya bhakti lata bija. So with devotees, we don't have to wander. Otherwise, the living entities, they are wandering, in the whole universe, cosmic universe. But only a fortunate living entity gets, by the mercy of Chaitya Lord Krishna as Paramatma in our heart, the mercy of a spiritual master, who is a representative of the God, the ambassador, the spiritual ambassador. And by that, we get initiated in disciplic succession, and then we engage in devotional service. Many times we also see so-called devotees, means they want to take initiation just for namesake. Oh, that they will be called, Brahmana, or they will be called devotees, and they will experience some amazing facilities. Devotion is all about humility and tolerance. It should actually make us humble. Yet at the same time, material energy, Maya is very strong. Yet at this, while I keep saying Maya is very strong, I can also prove that devotees are more trickier than Maya. Maya is represented by Goddess Durga. And who's Goddess Durga? None other than Parvati. And there is a beautiful story. I might just diverge into that because that's also a Grihastha ashram. Once Devashi Narad, he went to Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva was in his meditation, so he didn't want to disturb. So he was conversing with Mother Parvati. And he was saying that, Mother Parvati, you never invite us Vaishnavas to your home. And so Goddess Parvati said, yeah, she's like, but we live on a Kailash Parvat, there's not much facility. He says, Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, he's the greatest devotee and he can arrange everything if you desire so. And he has so many followers and his followers are so rich and so opulent, in such an opulent state they live. So they would be more than happy to serve him. So she says, okay. They decide together a date on which she would have Devashinath go around the universe and invite great Vaishnavas from all around the universe for a nice meal at Kailash Parvat. He leaves very happy. Yes, I'm going to go all around the world nice. Spiritual spaceman is on his journey inviting people. Now soon, Lord Shiva comes to Parvati and then she tells him, finally, Devashinath had this request. The first thing that Lord Shiva is saying, oh, he's a troublemaker. What did he do now? So she's first surprised because Devashi Narad, we know from the Shastras, from Srimadbhagavatam, is spiritual service personified, his devotional service. Of course, yes, we say devotional service, Madan Mohan Mohini. Radharani is representing devotional service. Yet, in our real, it is Devashi Narad, who is personification of devotional service. And he's got troublemaker, so she's surprised. She's like, no, he just asked for it, and I decided this date. So Lord Shiva looking down, thinking, saying, you do understand that he's going to invite, Asita and so many other sages. And this sage, he drank the whole ocean and he was still not satisfied. But let's see what happens. We would take it as it would happen. So finally, the day comes and all the sages are lined up. They're sitting in a row and all the Shiv Bhaktas are offering. Now, this sage, he comes and he sits at the end. Now, when he's sitting at the end, what's happening is when, service is being offered, only the last person, as per the rule, has the right to ask for more. If someone before the last person asks, then, it's not considered proper manners. People go for the second round and then they continue to give the same amount, if they're going 2 puris, 2 puris, 2 puris, and then the second round comes again, 2 puris, 2 puris, 2 puris. Somebody can say, okay, I'm okay, 1 puri is enough, that's fine. I don't want puri, that's fine. But you cannot say 3 puris or 4 puris. You have to let them finish that round and then come back again with another round and you can get more at that point. So this is the way the serving process is. Today we see people go for the buffet and they just, pile up their plates and all that stuff. Or people just say, I don't want to take another round. Well, you have to just follow the proper etiquettes. They have simple etiquettes around even accepting prasadam. So here, as he's sitting at the end and food is getting served, Lord Krishna, he comes in the form, he takes an attire of a sage and he sits next to him as the last person. He's like, Are, I'm the last one. You cannot sit there. And Lord Krishna says, no worries, you can ask for more. But in a way, Lord has tricked, this devotee. How? Because when he is saying, give me everything, he says, save the last serving for him. So he cannot say, I'm not satisfied yet. He has to, so Lord is first, again, to save from devotees, Lord has to come. So this is what another lesson is to save us sometimes. It's easier to satisfy Lord Krishna than to satisfy devotees. That's what this example is all about. And so as the servings go on, everyone is full, but there's a big pile of mountain in front of the sage and he's still eating. Now, the second part of the etiquette is nobody can get up till everyone is done, which means they are sitting and they are singing and chanting and, conversing, but they cannot get up. Lord Krishna, being the one next to him, suddenly gets up. Everyone says, Hari Bol, he's going to take the wrath. We are saved. And now the sage said, why would he get up? I haven't taken any water. Lord Krishna says, don't worry, I will arrange for water for you. And everybody wonders that when, Govardhan Leela was performed by Lord Krishna, he was picking up the whole mountain on his pinky of his left hand. This sage was sitting at the one end of Govardhan Parvat and Lord Krishna tilted Govardhan Hill just a little bit so that all the waters flew through his mouth and he drank it all. Because Samvatika clouds were pouring oceans of water. Somebody has to consume it. Otherwise, the water will go under. And that's where all the Vrajvasis are. So Lord Krishna arranged it very nicely. It's one act, many people satisfied. And the sage was also satisfied. Parvati and Lord Shiva was, very thankful and grateful to the Lord that he saved us. And Devashi Narad was very much in bliss that Mother Parvati has invited all these devotees. But this could not have been a happy experience if it was not for Lord Krishna. And let's not forget, Lord Krishna himself is a Grahastha, as we understand by his pastimes. So what's the most sacred inheritance we can give to our children? It is the habit of hearing about Krishna, Sravanam, the most powerful of all the 9 processes of devotional service. And so if there is Krsna Katha in our home, we have already built a temple. We don't have to. People say, oh, build a temple, build a temple. Make your home a temple. It's a temple, Engage in Krishna service. So home without Krishna Katha is like a body without a soul. It just deteriorates and smells. So we have to be very, very careful. Hare Krishna. So the sound vibration, it influences our destiny. When we fill our home with Krishna's sound and see how fate transforms, for our benefit. So again, this is also a very important aspect. And in Srimadbhagavatam, we also see that it is said that in the association of devotees, in discussion of the pastimes, the activities, Rab, Nam, Guna, Leela, Katha, again, name from activities, pastime of the Supreme Lord, it is very pleasing and satisfying. For 7 days, Parikshit Maharaj is sitting and hearing this Katha, and he has decided not to take a drop of water and doesn't feel. He actually feels that he's the most fortunate person that he gets to hear. Now, sometimes Katha hour can get confusing for some, right? So once a Grihastha, he declared, from now on, every evening is Krishna Katha hour. So the children, they got excited until they found out that it wasn't a new serial on Netflix. They said, wait, this doesn't seem to have a villain. Well, the grandparents replied simply, yes, it does. It's Kaliya, Kamsa, and sometimes our own vicious mind. And they all laughed and stayed for the story. So again, yes, they are perfect villains in Krishna Katha. And of all of them, the greatest villain that Lord Krishna is trying to defeat when we are attentively hearing is our ego, our mind. He's trying to conquer that. So Krishna Katha isn't outdated. It is eternally entertaining and spiritually rejuvenating for all ages. Sometimes people talk about revolution. So one husband, he loved Krishna Katha so much that he would start narrating pastimes during dinner. So after a few weeks, his wife said, you know what, Prabhuji, our food is prasadam, but it gets cold before you finish your explaining Krishna Katha, right? His only thing that's left is, you're talking about Krishna Katha and butter theft, Makhan Chor stories, he was very much attached to. And Makhan is a very important aspect. So he would just smile as, it's like Vrindavan, everything melts except the butter. If butter melts, then how would Krishna enjoy it? So butter stays as it is, but every heart is melting, every stone is melting, everyone's very being are melting in Krishna Katha. So Krishna Katha creates communities, right? Not just routines. So sometimes when we do Zoom sessions and all that, there are various ideas that come to mind. A modern devotee father, he told his son, we'll hear Krishna Katha together in the car. So the son asked, can we play Bhagavatam as a podcast? Father, he's responded, sure. But after 10 minutes of driving, the son asked, why does Narad Muni travel so much? Is he in sales? Well, the dad just chuckles and says, no, he's the soul-saving personality, right? Soul-saving man. And he's never on mute. That's another aspect. He's always reciting, Narayan, Narayan. So what's the lesson we get? That Krishna Katha fits any lifestyle. If we adjust the format with conscious intent, that is very important. So in our real life, right, we see so many times we are facing struggles, but in reality, what seems to be a struggle is our purification to grow over the shortcomings we have. Tough times make us smarter, make us more determined, make us more focused. It's very interesting that when we talk about Din Runi Raat Chauguni, Din Duni means when everything is favorable, then we make twice as profit. Raat Chauguni means when things are not favorable, then actually when we engage our activities for the pleasure of Krishna, we make even double of the regular times, twice of twice. Chauguni, So that's That's the progress. That's the spiritual progress we should be always looking for. And we can meditate on these activities. We can close our eyes and mentally walk through our home. We can ask ourselves, where in my home can I establish a corner for Krsna Katha, where we can all sit together and meditate on Lord Krishna's pastimes. The sweetness of his pastimes, even a chair, a mat, or a wall can become sacred place when filled with the sweet transcendental sound vibrations. And we can ask various questions to ourselves, like how often do I engage in Krishna Katha at home? We should at least try to see 15 minutes, if not more or less. So again, what obstacles do I face? How can I remove one of these obstacles this week, not next week? Tomorrow never comes, remember? So how can I dedicate 10 minutes daily to hear or speak Krishna's pastimes? So this enables us to start dovetailing, integrating our intentions, and that's where we come from live Krishna Katha to integrate our intentions. So the heart behind the act determines whether it becomes bhakti or bandhan. Right? Both start with B, bondage. Whether we are engaged in devotion or whether we are engaged in bondage. So even daily responsibilities when done with Krishna in mind becomes acts of devotion. So we have to focus on understanding that this body that I have received is provided by Krishna by his mercy. The parents I received, they were by his mercy. And the children I have are also his mercy so that I can carry out my duties. Because when you have children at home, every parent knows they teach you how to be patient, how to be tolerant, and they humble you every day. So again, those are some of the things we learn. But at the same time, that's in a conscious, advanced mindset. Otherwise, there are people who are so-called householders. They are referred to as Grahmadis in the Shastras. They are saying, oh, these children are for my enjoyment and I will treat them and pamper them. No, we have to make them Krishna consciousness. That's true pampering. Otherwise, it is just tampering, right? So the intent is the seed of liberation or entanglement. So we have to have the right intent. Srimadbhagavatam, this verse today we covered, declares that those who spend every moment in Krishna Katha and offer their actions to Lord Krishna, Shri Radha Krishna, are not bound by the actions, because that's the characteristic of akarma, right? Devotional service. It doesn't have reaction. While karma, which is pious activities, have reaction. So you have to take birth even if you perform good activities, but because you perform it for your sense gratification. Or if you perform sinful activities, impious activities, then they have a reaction also coming and you have to suffer. So the body has to suffer, or body has to enjoy because of karma and vikarma. But akarma is liberating. So those who offer the results of profits to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, remain in a liberated condition, as Srila Prabhupada revealed in the purport. So it is not what we do, but what we think while doing it that makes it spiritual. We have to understand our intention matters. Sincerity is the strongest Shakti, strongest power, and strongest sign of mercy that we have received mercy of the Lord, right? So when we begin our service with proper intention for Krishna's pleasure, Krishna doesn't count the scale. He weighs the sincerity. He simply looks at how sincere we are, right? And the Lord is not just accepting what we offer, but He's accepting why you offer it. What is the intention? It's always starting with why. We have to ask question our acts. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to please Krishna? Or am I doing this to please myself or those who are expansions of myself, like my family members and so forth? So we have to focus ourselves, right? Yatha yasya hare dasya karmana mansagira Nikalasva, apya avasthasu, jivan mukta sochate. A person acting for Krishna with body, mind, and speech is liberated in any condition. So this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So if we want to be jivan mukta, we have to engage in service of Lord Krishna. So sometimes I knew what he was saying. Offer your bhoga with love and sincerity. So he clearly wrote a love note on a sticky pad, when he was told. that you have to offer with love and sincerity. He said, "Dear Krishna, I made this kishri with all my heart. Please accept it and ignore the burnt part." The pujari, he saw it, chuckled, and said, "It's not about poetic expression, but heartfelt intention. We have to pay attention so that we can get the be in proper meditation." So Krishna is surely accepted, but maybe he even laughed, right? So offering with love outweighs offering with precision. Krishna cherishes the bhav more than the bhoga. He is bhavagrahi janadana. So he looks at our intention, right? A Mataji was simply sweeping the temple while softly chanting. So somebody passing by, a guest, he said, "Why don't you use a vacuum?" She replied, "Because I want every broom stroke to say, 'I serve you, Krishna.'" So the flow shone, but more importantly, so did her intention. Every physical act becomes spiritualized when the mind is concentrated on Krishna. That is a very important aspect in our life. And as we continue to progress, we come to V for value devotees, because the devotee association is like the fence to our garden where the Bhakti Lata is growing and reaching all the way to Golok Vrindavan when watered by chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So valuing devotees means seeing Krishna in them. Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shivapakecha Pandita Samadarshi. So Vidya Vinay Sampanne, when endowed with a sober nature. Who is Pandita? So this is the definition of a Pandita. Who sees Lord Krishna's Paramatma in the heart of Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane, a Brahman, Gavi, a cow, Hastini, an elephant, Shuni Cheva Shwapakecha, a dog eater and a dog. So different kind of living entities. Various grades have been discussed here. When we start to see Lord Krishna in their heart, means they are very dear to Krishna. Who do you keep in your heart? The most dear person. And every one of them have Lord Krishna sitting in their hearts. So they're very dear to Lord Krishna. And so we should be treating them as someone who's very dear to Lord Krishna, with that respect, with that loving exchanges. And His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj says that one should understand that the success of our spiritual life depends on how we interact with others. So this is a very important aspect, and it is in the Grihastha life, in the family life, that is an important lesson to have loving exchanges with the devotees. Once a newlywed couple, they were going out on morning walk with Srila Prabhupada. They just got married a day before and they wanted to get some instruction. And they were asking, Srila Prabhupada, what is the duty of a householder? Srila Prabhupada said, before you sit down to take your meal, to honor prasadam, you should go to the main door, open the door and shout, "Is there anyone who is hungry? Please come, we have prasadam for you." Now, apparently, this couple was looking for some other instructions, right? Sometimes people ask questions, but they already have kind of like answer they want to accept. So they had other talks, and then while coming back, the gentleman, he asked the same question again. So Srila Prabhupada, what's the duty of a householder? Srila Prabhupada repeated the same answer. Open the door before you honor prasadam and call out, "Is there anyone hungry out there? We would like to welcome you. We have prasadam for you." And then after feeding them, only one should honor prasadam. So that is also like, it is more important for a grihastha ashram, a person in grihastha ashram, to focus on serving other parts of the society before serving oneself. And Lord provides what we get, right? So life becomes liberation when centered around Krishna. And this strengthens ourselves, and it is sadhu sangha, genuine Vaishnava association. So sadhu sangha is the fertilizer that makes our devotion grow faster. It is the protection that makes our bhakti lata safe and makes it nourish and feel strengthened. So again, if you want to know how close you are to Krishna, ask how well you treat his devotees. That is a very important aspect. And who is his devotee? Every living entity is a devotee of Krishna. Some know it, some don't. That's the difference. That's the consciousness. It's the difference of the consciousness, because it is said in the Shastra, Jivera Surupaya Krishnera Nityadas. We living entities are eternal servant of Krishna. Krishnera Tatashta Shakti Bheda Bheda Prakash. We are the marginal potency of Lord Krishna. So when we are dovetailed in our service for Lord Krishna's pleasure, then of course Bheda Bheda Prakash. There is no difference, because we have unison in our purpose, in our intention. But when we are looking at our satisfaction to lord over the material energy, then we are bound. Right?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You
Yes.
asked me to remind you just a couple of minutes before the time, the conclusion time. So just letting you know.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Devi. Thank you. And so here we talked about we, but we have been always talking about E, which is engage everything in Krishna's service. Don't reject the world, redirect it. Whatever we have, our wealth, our intellect, our time, our talents, our emotions, they can all become tools in Krishna's service. Lord Krishna tells Arjun, Nimittara matram bhavya savisachan. You're just an instrument. I have already destroyed all these warriors on this field, except for you Pandavas and a few others. Everyone is going to die on the battle. You know, he's revealing this to Arjun in 11th chapter, 1133. And he's saying, you're but an instrument. So we have to just continue to engage in carrying out our duties without duplicity, without thinking that is for our enjoyment. Automatically, Lord Krishna provides. And this matters because this is what this verse is saying. To reject something, again, we covered in a purport, favorable to Krishna consciousness, just because it seems material, is a mistake. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati calls it a blunder. You know, true detachment doesn't mean throwing everything away. It means using everything we have for Krishna. So it's dovetailing it. You know, we don't have to curse our circumstances. We have to convert our circumstances. Your true renunciation is not just to live household life and become a sannyasi. It's not about giving things up, but giving them to Krishna. So it is engaging, and that is what causes us to get the higher taste from Dishtva Nivartate. Every gift, every talent, every possession is Krishna's. So all we have to do is offer it back to his for his pleasure. You know, we see Brahmanas, they go in the water and they make an offering to the sun, and they're actually offering water back to the river or to the pond, whatever is the source of water. They're just taking it but offering it back. Similarly, when a child comes to the father, means again, child has been provided everything by father, but child, gets whatever the lunch money, saves it to bring something for father, as a gift, and gives it to father. Father, I got this for you. The father becomes very happy. Is it the father looking at what the value of this is? Oh, this is only $5. I make $1,000 a day. What is $5 to me? He's not looking that way. He's thinking of the loving reflection in the intention of the child that he is offering. This is a loving exchange. It doesn't have monetary value. It is much beyond. That's what Lord Krishna is looking for our bhava. So even our smile can be engaged in service, if it helps someone remember Krishna. So again, when we meet devotees, we are supposed to be very enthusiastic and blissful. And the more enthusiastic and blissful and more loving we are in our behavior, the more we progress and the more stronger bonds we form with others. They say smile because it is contagious. If you want to get any kind of disease, that's the smile disease we want to have. And we want to not just have, but also give to others. And this is where we should, focus on what our life entails and be alive in Krishna's service. So this is the main lesson I wanted to cover today. That how can we be alive? We have to align our actions. We have to live Krishna Katha. We have to integrate intentions. We have to value the devotees and engage everything in Krishna's service. And in this way, we can always continue to chant eternally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, I don't know. Devi, are you there? Would you like to share something as last words? Else we'll end the session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, you are very nicely addressed, actually, given so many examples. This is an open secret now, how to be alive in Krishna consciousness, in family life. So this message keeps coming across all through different verses as we keep going through these gems from Srimadbhagavatam. And I'm pretty sure that those who join regularly, as well as whenever they get the chance, they also must be reflecting within their hearts this importance of gems from Srimad Bhagavatam. I think we can wrap up now, Prabhuji. You can.
Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Nitai Premanande, Hari Hari. Have a wonderful week in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Om.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Enjoyed.